East, just off East Street. Now, Jamaal, who is mentally challenged and has a speech impairment, was last seen Tuesday morning around 6:30 a.m. He is 5 feet 6 inches tall, of dark complexion, and has a low haircut. He was last seen wearing a beige-colored t-shirt and light blue short pants. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to contact his family at 328-2124 or police at 911 or 919. You can also call 328-TIPS with any information. The Pan American Health Organization has met with the government to help lay the groundwork for a national health insurance plan for the Bahamas. The organization says it's already met with the Minister of Health to start work on the plans. Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez said last week that government stakeholders are still in the initial stages of reviewing the first draft of the insurance plan introduced in 2004. PAHO representative for the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, Jerry Ikemans, told ZNS News last night that her team has already met with Minister Gomez to begin this work.
We're also working on the prevention of chronic diseases, cancer, but also, of course, the diabetes, obesity, etc. We are working on strengthening the surveillance system so that we have a better understanding of what the dynamics and the current disease burden is in the Bahamas and how we can better prevent it. We work, for example, on some of the issues of the Millennium Development Goals, like the reduction of infant mortality. We are looking at maternal mortality. And one of the important things that's on the agenda of the whole world and also the Bahamas is the international health regulations.
Now, the PAHO executives believes the National Prescription Drug Plan will complement the National Health Insurance Plan. 32 students from 7 schools throughout the country got a glimpse into prison life today. The group is part of the Bahamas Drug Council Peer Leadership Camp. They visited Her Majesty's Prison in Fox Hill. Co-chairman of the Bahamas National Drug Council, Joseph Darville, says the initiative, funded by the U.S. Embassy, aims to create ambassadors against drugs and crime in the country, beginning with the youth and arming them with vital information and skills to dissuade their peers from using drugs.
The young people are the ones we have to begin with, because the country actually is being prepared for them to have a safe and productive life. And I think they have to be intimately involved in that process, because they know how they want to live and how they want the Bahamas to be. We know as older people that it used to be a very peaceful country, and even though we had drugs proliferate in the country back in the early 70s, we had deaths due to the use of drugs. Now we have deaths due to the use of drugs and also guns by virtue of protection of drug traffickers, etc., with their ammunition. So we want to take a two-pronged approach to this. Let the young people be trained sufficiently that they can eliminate the whole use of drugs in our country, and through that whole process eliminate the use of drugs and violence in our nation.
Mr. Darville is optimistic that the Drug Leadership Peer Initiative, now in the second of 3 phases, will gain momentum.
Theoretical knowledge, and also with these experiences, visiting the prison, visiting Commissioner of Police and the rest of the DEA, the DEU, they're getting that very close contact with all of the elements involved. The next stage will be 20 from this particular group will be chosen to spend another whole week in Eleuthera at the island school. There, the National Geographic Society will fund a whole week of photographic techniques. They will do underwater photography. They'll come away with their own underwater cameras, etc.
Members of the Bahamas Society of Engineers were today given the assurance of the government to advance the profession. During the organization's annual meeting today at Graycliff Restaurant, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Public Works, the Honorable Renwood Wells, an engineer by profession, applauded the group for its contribution to national development. With the Engineers Act recently passed in the House of Assembly, Mr. Wells advised engineers of the obligation to be properly registered.
It is the same thing that is done with the lawyers. The doctors do it. I think the accounting firm in this country does it as well. The act is clear. The law is clear. And we intend to see that that law is enforced. Really, before any sort of work permit can be granted, 2 things really has to happen. the Ministry of Labor has to issue a labor certificate. And I think you will find that you have in the Minister of Labor a ardent nationalist as myself. And then immigration, based on that labor certificate as well, is able to issue a work permit. But those things must first be in accordance with the law.
Additionally, Mr. Wells says the government is committed to drafting legislation to enhance standards in the construction industry.
The lack of legislation in this area has evoked concern for many, many years among members of the general public, as well as members of the construction industry. Therefore, the process to review and finalize the draft contractors bill by the Department of Legal Affairs will continue with a view to that document being fair to all contractors and consumers alike. I'm sure I may get some questions on that going forward. In addition to supporting legislation to regulate professions and disciplines as required, we realize that our human resource capital in the field of engineering, along with our recruitment and retention strategies, must also be given further examination.
Winners of the first Youth Express Anti-Drug Awareness Competition, a program supported by the U.S. Embassy, got a rare up-close opportunity to participate in an Operation Bahamas Turks and Caicos helicopter demonstration at the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Base today. Our Janae Noel Ferguson was there.
Partnership between the Bahamas government, the U.S. Coast Guard, and the OPBAT operation to tell about 300 young children about the ramifications of drug use. Today, they got a first-hand view of exactly how that will work.
The U.S. Coast Guard helicopter safely landed at the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Base, demonstrating the strong partnership between the U.S. and the Bahamas. This is the message that was brought home to students who participated in the first Youth Express Anti-Drug Awareness Contest. Winners from all over the country had to either rap or write an essay or poem about the negative effects of drugs.
When I think about drugs, the dangers of our youth comes to mind. You may seem fine on that first high, but on that second try, shoots. It will confuse your body, spirit, and mind.
We have to stop the crime. We're ruining their lives. There's people out there starving. They're praying for our harvest. And we're killing over drugs these days. What's the reason?
U.S. Coordinator David J. noted that given the geographical proximity of the Bahamas to the U.S., this partnership is very important in putting a dent in drug trafficking.
Many of the same things that make Bahamas such a wonderful tourist destination. Unfortunately, its strategic location also brings some ills as well. And so we've partnered closely with the government of the Bahamas for a while to try to counteract some of those ills, the illicit trafficking and such. And so this program is designed to take a more holistic approach. It's not only the hard law enforcement aspects of countering illicit trafficking, but it's also the societal bits.
The kids got a chance to explore this state-of-the-art chopper that also assists in rescue missions. Co-chairman of the Bahamas Drug Council agrees that the fight against drugs and crime must be fought within communities.
They're dying from drugs, they're dying from guns associated with the proliferation of drugs, the transshipment of drugs. So it's a matter of dealing with our people. Once our people are trained sufficient to know how to deal with these situations, then we're going to have the type of communities that we need, peaceful, well-established communities.
Competition winners will participate in various activities for the remainder of the week. Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
Welcome to tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Let's take a look at what's making business news today.
How much is the country's insurance bill? Well, Prime Minister Perry Christie announced Wednesday that was a question posed in Tuesday's cabinet meeting.
Taking the quasi-corporations, the police and defense force and the national insurance and BEC and BTC and all of them, what is the amount of money we spend? And then juxtaposed to that, or in contradistinction to that, what will it cost for national health insurance?
The local daily reporting an update on the city market's SuperValue supermarket deal. SuperValue owner Rupert Roberts telling the print media that he was, quote, forging right ahead with the takeover of 3 former City Markets locations, having put out bids for the re-equipping of the South Beach and Sea Grapes sites. Mr. Roberts from the print media says is taking over the leasehold interests in those 2 stores and the Cable Beach outlet through his Quality Supermarkets entity rather than SuperValue, suggested that more than 200 jobs will be created once all 3 sites were open and fully operational. In international business, the California city of Stockton approved a special budget Tuesday night, paving the way for it to become the largest American city to declare bankruptcy. The city's manager said, unfortunately, they had no comprehensive set of agreements with their creditors to offer that would eliminate the $26 million budget deficit and avoid insolvency. And from regional business, Barbados opposition MP Mia Motley says they are still waiting for the budget to be delivered. Motley, in delivering the reply to the budget last evening in Parliament, said she sometimes feels the government of Barbados lives in a dream and refuses to connect with the average Barbadian. Remember, you can send us an email or join us on www.znsbahamas.com or become our friend on ZNS's official Facebook page.
And that will end tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Thanks so much for watching.